Check it out. It's the Laugh to Learn podcast. What is going on, everyone? Welcome to 2022 and welcome to the Laugh to Learn podcast. It has been so long. 3 weeks has gone by so fast, but it feels at the same time as I sit here and I start talking, it feels like I haven't done this in a very long time. So thank you for coming back to the podcast. Congratulations on surviving until 2022. Just like a birthday, where for some reason we celebrate the fact that a 4-year-old isn't dead yet, I'm going to celebrate the fact that you are not dead yet. And if you're 4 years old listening to this podcast, you should probably turn it off right now. Anyways, I think I'm going crazy because here in Ontario, it has hit the fan once again. It is spreading. Everything is going crazy. Everything is closed as of the day this posts. I don't know what to do. I'm running around like a chicken with my head cut off, worried that they're going to close ski hills. I haven't even been yet. I was actually thinking about going today, but long story, I got to pick up my grocery order because now there's a 50% capacity in grocery stores, which means you're going to have to stand in line, and it's going to be -3, but it's going to feel like -10 today. Can you not hear I'm rambling? I'm going crazy. When is this going to end? I cannot believe that I'm talking about COVID. Just to put this into perspective, it was the second episode of 2020, the second episode of that January, it would have been the third week of January 2020, when I did my initial COVID-19 episode talking about it in Asia, in Wuhan, China, of course, as we all know. And I can't believe I'm still talking about it 2 years later. But there really is nothing else to talk about. Betty White died. That was sad, actually. I was surprised. And it was weird, because I said, 2 days before, it's my fault. I'm going to take the blame on this one. Because I had a friend of mine ask about, random celebrity deaths or whatever. And I was like, you know what's crazy is I don't think we're ever going to hear that Betty White died. I think she's going to live to be, 140, and I will die first. But lo and behold, 2 days later, we learn the sad news that Betty White died. I honestly had a list of all these things in the world that had happened and things that we wanted to discuss. I wanted to go through and talk about 2021 as a whole. There were all these big stories I never talked about, like how the Castro family is no longer in control in Cuba, like a huge news story that we couldn't cover last year, and I figured January is going to be a slow news time, which it really is, other than COVID taking over the world again, or at least taking over Ontario again. So hopefully I can do my 2021 in perspective episode at some point. But right now, I mean, it's just we have to confront the elephant in the room, and it is that as of January 4th, 2022, that is Tuesday, January 4th, 47,700 cases today in Ontario of COVID-19, 7-day average of 18,000. Important to note, one of those days was New Year's Day with 187 cases, which essentially they didn't report any new cases one of these days. So one of the 7 days is using the number 0. So if you know much about statistics, that 18,000 average is actually much higher. So I would assume we're probably closer to like 20 or 22,000 people a day and we're going to see that in the next little while. But this Omicron variant, we talked about it. I think it first showed up in November, and then we kind of discussed it. And if you recall, my very last episode, of course, posts on a Wednesday. On Thursday was supposed to be the last local hockey game of the year. I'm a season ticket holder for our local OHL team. And they were going to play their last game before their holiday break, and I was all excited. And then that game got canceled because the team they were supposed to play, I think it was Peterborough, came down with a bunch of cases. So, okay, or postponed or whatever, no problem. Things will come back to normal. We miss a game, it sucks, but oh well, we'll make up for it later like we have in the past. And then, oh my God, all of a sudden now, National Hockey League games are being played in Ontario with no crowd, and they've postponed a whole bunch of things. They've canceled events. You're not allowed to go into work anymore, which obviously I work from home, so that has no impact on me, but still, it's crazy. And now, as of actually Wednesday when this posts, here in Ontario, there's all these new restrictions we're going to get to. I'm still babbling because I can't believe we're here. The vaccines, which we're going to talk about, vaccine efficiencies against this variant, because basically there's very minimal protection that you're getting by being double vaccinated against this. I'm actually scheduled next Tuesday, the 11th, to get my third dose, my booster shot, whatever the hell we want to call it, of the vaccine. At this point, I'm going to be real with you. I don't really know why I'm going to get it. All the evidence really shows that it's if you're double vaxxed, it's about as good as it gets, but whatever, I'm going to get it because, why not? It doesn't cost me anything, and it's 2-minute drive from my house, so I literally leave my desk next Tuesday, drive 2 minutes away, get a needle in my arm, and come right back home, and yeah, I guess just why not? So let's just get right into it. So on Monday this week, actually on Sunday, we had an announcement come out that on Monday there will be an announcement. And it actually caught a lot of people, myself included, by surprise, because last week Doug Ford came out, the Premier of Ontario, of course, brother of the crack-smoking Mayor Rob Ford, rest in peace. Better politician than Doug, let me tell you. And Doug Ford comes out and says that schools are going to open on Wednesday, so we're going to delay schools a few days. That way they could distribute N95 masks for teachers and some air filtration units to school. It was 3,000 more air filtration units, and there's already 100,000 in schools across the province. I think they want one in every classroom or 2 in every classroom. I have no idea. Whatever the case may be, they're distributing these air filtration units and N95 masks for teachers, and that's what they were going to do to reopen schools. Beyond that, there were some things that were limited, like ticketed events had a new capacity restrictions of 1,000 people, either 50% or 1,000 people, whatever number is smaller, and the basic stuff that we all have in this area, at least, just come to expect when the numbers go up. But it seems to be made very clear to us that we're not going into lockdown, we're not going backwards. This is what we're going to do. All of a sudden, there were leaks and rumors of cabinet meetings happening. Politicians were coming from across the province back to Toronto to have meetings with, executives from the major school boards and major health units. They were having Zoom call meetings and whatnot with different community leaders across the province, and it quickly started to leak that they're going to put further restrictions on, and actually some journalists did come out and say, I'm pretty sure we're being locked down again, but they were quick to say that no one's confirmed that. It just sounds like that's what's happening, but we really didn't know. Going into Monday this week, which was when they actually made the announcement on New Year's Day, I guess was Monday. I'm actually going to look at my calendar. No, Monday was the 3rd. That's what happens when you go on vacation for 3 weeks. So actually I worked the whole time. But anyways, on Monday the 3rd, we're going to have this announcement, and no one really knew what it was. We figured schools are probably not opening. But beyond that, we didn't think there would be anything further. Well, there is a lot. We are essentially back into a full lockdown here in Ontario, so let's go through it. And now, I know there's listeners not from Ontario, but I think it's kind of interesting just to hear how things are happening here. And I'm going to talk about some of the political implications, because there's a provincial election on June 2nd. I think actually my last episode of the year, I said it was in September. Untrue. The federal election was in September of this year. This election is going to be on June 2nd for the province. And yeah, so this is going to have major implications on the election that we can get to in a second. But here is the list of restrictions. So first of all, gathering limits have been significantly reduced. So private social gathering limits will be reduced to 5 people indoors and 10 people outdoors, and they ask that everyone be vaccinated. They can't enforce that as a law, but they state that everyone should be vaccinated if they are gathering indoors and masked as well. Further to that, capacity will be limited at organized public events to 5 people indoors. Businesses and organizations will need to ensure employees work remotely unless the nature of their work requires them to be on site, which I alluded to before. And on that second point about organized public events being 5 people indoors, that includes a maximum of 5 people at a restaurant table outdoors. So that's a little interesting. So when it comes to reduced capacity limits, capacity at indoor weddings, funerals, and religious services, rites, and ceremonies will be limited to 50% capacity of a particular room. Outdoor services are limited to the number of people that can maintain 2 meters of physical distance. Social gatherings associated with these services must adhere to the social gathering limits. So once again, it seems that the religious folk have found a prayer which dodges them like Neo in the Matrix as COVID is coughed in their direction. So I need to start hanging out with more religious folk because they've got it figured out. Retail settings, including shopping malls, will be permitted at 50% capacity. For shopping malls, physical distancing will be required in lineups, and food courts will be required to close. Personal care services will be permitted to operate at 50% capacity. That's like hair salons and nail salons and whatnot. Saunas, steam rooms, and oxygen bars will be closed. Public libraries, I always struggle with the word library, will be limited to 50% capacity. Closures, indoor meeting and event spaces are required to close with limited exceptions, but outdoor spaces can remain open. Did I mention that right now the wind chill feels like -10? Think I did. Indoor dining at restaurants, bars, and other food or drink establishments will no longer be permitted. Outdoor dining with restrictions, takeout, drive-through, and delivery is permitted. So restaurants are closed inside. Only the major locations have heaters and stuff outdoors that work well enough to allow you to sit outside. Like, it is January, and this is definitely going to move into February in literally one of the 10 coldest places in the planet or on the planet, okay? Ontario is friggin' cold this time of year. No one is sitting outside. No waitress is wearing a snowsuit to work to wait on you in the snow outside, literally. Like, for people who don't live here and maybe have never experienced like an actual winter, like maybe you visited somewhere cold or something, like you have no idea. It can literally get to minus 30. There is no way, like for like a week, it can be minus 30 every day with a wind chill of like minus 34, minus 35 degrees Celsius. Okay? There is no way people are eating outside at restaurants. Just so stupid that they put that in there as if it's going to help. Indoor concert venues, theaters, and cinemas will be closed. Museums, galleries, zoos, science centers, landmarks, historic sites, botanical gardens, and similar attractions, amusement parks, and water parks, as if a fucking water park is open, tour and guide services, and fairs, rural exhibitions, and festivals will all close. I suppose there's indoor water parks. Outdoor establishments will be permitted to open with restrictions and with spectator occupancy where applicable, limited to 50% capacity. Indoor horse racing tracks, car racing tracks, and other venues will close. Outdoor at 50%. Boat tours at 50%. There are no boat tours. It's all ice. Indoor sport and rec fitness facilities, including gyms, will be closed, except for elite athletes training for Olympics, Paralympics, professional, and other elite amateur sport leagues. Outdoor facilities at 50%. Finally, actually, I guess not finally, second to last, we get to school closures. All publicly funded and private schools will move to remote learning starting January 5th until at least the 17th, subject to public health trends and operational considerations, which means probably not going to reopen January 17th. School buildings will be permitted to open for child care operations and to provide in-person instruction for students with special education needs who cannot accommodate remote learning. Finally, surgeries as of January 5th, there will be a directive for all non-emergent and life-threatening surgeries to be postponed, delayed, or rescheduled. So, we are right back into our full lockdown. I don't know how the provincial government is going to come out of this looking good. I mean, it really does look bad for them right now. So here in Canada, there are essentially two provinces that are locking down, Ontario and Quebec. And everyone else, some are getting like further restrictions and stuff, but nothing like this. We basically can't go anywhere, can't do anything. It's illegal once again to gather with friends. Me being on my own, it's a little easier. Like I can go to a friend's house, if it's like a couple with 2 kids, I can go visit them. But if they have 3 kids, I cannot. My family, like just my parents, my brother, my sister-in-law, like that, and their daughter, right? That's 5 people with them. So I can't get together with my brother's family and my parents. I can't then go because that makes it 6 people, which is technically illegal. And you can get charged under the Emergencies Act here in Ontario. So it's basically like a full lockdown. You can't do anything again. You can't go anywhere again. And on top of that, literally everyone has COVID. I have no idea how I don't have it unless I have had it and didn't know. You can't book a test. So I've pre-ordered some rapid tests because I actually plan on using them for the podcast so I can do some in-person interviews in the future. We're going to get to fun stuff for 2022, but we have to cover this first, right? But I'm hoping that we can get some interviews done. Of course, I have a beautiful new podcast studio that I have not once been able to sit down and interview someone in because of all of this nonsense. So yeah, things are really crazy here in Ontario. And to get on to the political aspect of it, I don't know who the Conservative government hopes is going to vote for them. Because the thing is, their core supporters do not support lockdowns. They don't. I mean, like, every poll shows that. And the Liberal folk who didn't vote for Kathleen Wynne last time because she was a fucking loon, they are not going to vote for Doug Ford, even though they support these lockdowns, because they're going to have NDP and Liberal options who support restrictions and lockdowns. So I don't really know what Doug Ford's doing. I understand why he allowed 50% capacity at religious functions, because that is a core group of voters that support him. Seniors are overwhelmingly religious in Ontario, and religious seniors vote overwhelmingly conservative, so it makes sense that he's still allowing them to operate. But I don't have any clue how Doug Ford comes out of this successfully, unless this only lasts 3 weeks. The numbers are going to be really high still after 3 weeks. So now that he's done this, it kind of makes it tough after 3 weeks to be like, just kidding, you can reopen. But honestly, I know a lot of individuals under 30 who are not settled, like they're not married with kids or whatnot, who are leaving. They're leaving Ontario, they're leaving Canada, because they can go places that they can work. You know what I mean? If you're a bartender right now, you basically have not worked for more than 6 months in a row in the last 2 years. That's crazy. You haven't had 6 months of consistent work because you keep getting sent home by the province. And they're leaving. You know, I know a lot of people who now work from home as well. Like, I have to still be close to work because of the nature of my job. But a lot of people that work from home there's no chance that they get called into the office, right? So you can move to South America, you can move to the US, you can move basically anywhere and pay a third the cost of living, if not more, and, you know, have a beautiful home and a beautiful place. You can go out, you can live your life, you can date, right? All things that you cannot currently do here in Ontario, at least not legally. It's crazy that we're in this position, but there is a mass exodus that people are not talking about. And I know it's not just my group of friends, because because I know a lot of people that are leaving. Like, a lot. Probably more than half the people I consistently communicate with are or have already, since the start of COVID, left the country. They either are leaving or have left. And it's going to be really hard for the province to recover from this. It's also important to note that these are like the highest skilled people, right? You're talking about engineers and software developers and stuff like that who are able to work from home, that are just saying, well, why would I live in Canada paying, literally paying 33% income tax before my 11% sales tax, when I could just move to, say, Texas and pay 4%, or Michigan and pay 7%. So we really are at a crossroads here. And it's really important. So right now, the COVID19-sciencetable.ca, it's a federal organization that just accumulates COVID-19 data. And one of the most interesting things right now, if you go onto the website, again, it's COVID19-sciencetable.ca. If you just search Ontario COVID-19 science table, it's the first thing that comes up. Right now, the individuals with 2 doses of the vaccine are roughly 15% safer from contracting COVID-19. Literally. So if you have the vaccine, it basically does nothing to stop you from getting the Omicron variant. On top of that, hospitalization is only about 83% protected compared to 90% before Omicron. So that's a significant drop. When it comes to ICU, it's relatively the same. It's like 93, 94% safe if you're double vaccinated. But it's basically, even if you're vaccinated, there's nothing we can do about Omicron. On top of that, Omicron doesn't seem to be all that dangerous. About 1% of people who get it become hospitalized. That's a high number. 1% is still high, but it is nothing compared to what we've seen. And, I mean, I asked this with the Delta variant, which was more dangerous than Omicron, less dangerous than the Alpha, of course. But at a certain point, we have to just move forward, right? And if you require people to be masked and stuff, I get that. If you require to be vaccinated, I'm fine with that, as long as the data shows that there is some relevant use to it. And certainly when it comes to hospitalizations and ICU visits, being double vaccinated is beneficial. However, if you're double vaccinated and you're going to contract the virus anyway, having the virus can no longer be a relevant factor when it comes to basically anything. And that's kind of what we're seeing in most places is like right now, if you get sick here, you have to isolate at home for 10 days. The problem is we don't know who has COVID because you can't even book a PCR test. You can't get a test. Rapid tests, like I said at the beginning of the show, I ordered a case of 25 rapid tests. It cost me over 200 Canadian dollars to do, and they are on back order, so who knows when they're coming. Really, the problem that I'm seeing with this is overwhelming fear of something without statistical understanding of it has created this black hole that I don't know how Ontario gets out of, because people are so afraid around the world of contracting the virus that when you look at the statistics of how dangerous the virus is at this point, it certainly can have an impact on, province-wide, the healthcare system. But you as an individual at 1% hospitalization, and I think it's like a further 0.4, 0.5% of individuals who contract COVID right now are admitted to ICUs. And that's using the numbers that we know are submitted to the province of contraction, of individuals who've contracted the virus, not pregnancy contractions. And it's mind-blowing because right now, like I said, we were told 47,700 people were tested positive on January 4th, right? And that's an understatement. It's assumed that it's likely double that or close to, right? So at 45,000, that's 90,000 people. But that means that the percentage of people hospitalized and the percentage of people in ICU is actually double what it really is. So if right now double the people have COVID than we think, and we know for a fact that there are X number of people in hospital that make up, as I said, what are we at? So for patients in hospital, 365 per million. I hate it when they fucking present stuff like this. No one presents things per million. If I went to work one day and I was like, the number is 365 per million, they would be like, Jacob, what in the fuck are you talking about? So realistically, it is 0.04% of people who are unvaccinated that end up in hospital. But we know that nearly double the people actually have COVID, which means we have to have that 0.04%, which means 0.02% of people who contract COVID end up in the hospital. I mean, at a certain point, we have to move forward with things. And, I've been saying from the beginning of the Omicron breakout, this variant has to be it. This is the last one. People are not going to follow these rules moving past Omicron. It's just not going to happen. It's simply not. And to say that I haven't thought about leaving would be an outright lie. I can't stand it here anymore. You can't live your life. You simply can't. And at a certain point, you have to allow people to make their own decisions. You as a government can't babysit everyone, right? So, if you're fully vaxxed and you're wearing your mask and you're doing everything and you're still going to get COVID and only 0.02% chance you end up in the hospital, I mean, that is a risk. Like, I will roll those dice every day of the week. Plus, we know, because finally the CDC came out and said it, it's unhealthy people who are ending up in hospital. It's elders and people who are overweight. That's who's ending up in hospital right now. So it's like, man, at a certain point, you can't just lock down because of such a small percentage of the population. And you just need to be honest about the information. And say, like, if you need an ICU bed because you contract COVID, we might not be able to provide one for you. And that's just the reality. Is it an overwhelmed healthcare system? Yes, but it's overwhelmed by predominantly seniors catching COVID-19, which, I have no problem with protecting senior homes, which I've talked about from the beginning, right? And being very clear that, like, you should take a rapid test. We need access to rapid tests. Take a rapid test before you go and visit your grandparents. You need to take a rapid test before you can access a senior home right at the door, right? There's a dude out front who's like, here, take this rapid test. If it's negative, put your mask on, wash your hands, and go on in, right? Every time you want to enter a senior home. That's the way it should be right now. Makes sense, right? You want to visit your grandparents, take a rapid test before you go. If you're negative, then go up and visit them, right? Have a good time. Wear a mask, do your thing. But we can't just shut everything down every time there's a spike, because it's not going to stop. We don't have a vaccine that gets rid of the virus, which means it's going to keep creating new variants of itself. That's what viruses do. That's what they do. And now that we're through the most dangerous ones, we need to reopen. And then if a crazy dangerous variant shows up again, that's when you lock down. It can't just be any variant. Every winter, this is going to happen. Because that's what's going to happen, is every winter, when you get all the kids back in school and everyone is, no one's dining on a patio anymore. Everyone's eating inside. Everyone's, going to the movie theaters again and doing all the indoor activities that we do predominantly during the winter here. You're going to see these spikes. So what's going to happen in June? I think Doug Ford's going to lose. And unfortunately, I think someone who's far more liberal when it comes to lockdowns is going to come in. And I'm extremely liberal, but not when it comes to that shit. So that's my prediction right now, but we will see. Right now, the reproduction rate is 1.4, which means for every one positive test, you infect 1.5, essentially, more people. And it is doubling every 8.4 days, the number of people who have COVID. And that was as of January 1st. I'm certain that the doubling time has been slashed, and it is probably doubling far faster. So that's it for news. Thanks for sticking through that far. But some fun stuff about 2022. As I said, I've pre-ordered rapid tests, which means I can hopefully interview or have a conversation, a nice sit-down conversation with some folks in the coming months. I also have a new PC coming in, which is going to expand what I can do. I'm going to try video podcasting again. And I say try because in the past when I've tried it on my current computer, it didn't have the capacity to really do it. The sound quality fell too much, and it was just too much. It just didn't work. So that is the plan right now. And hopefully that plan works out, but you never know. So I'm not making any promises, but I do have the new PC coming in. It's shipping out. It's like a whole custom built. I'm so excited about it. I've actually, I had planned it out for over a year, what I wanted to buy, and I finally bought it. I was just like, screw it, I'm going to buy it, and I did it. And so, real excited to get that all going. If you're not already, follow me over on social media. Lots of exciting things to come in the new year. I'm super excited. 2021 was the best year for the podcast. Remember, we were charting on iTunes, which came out of nowhere. That was crazy. Super excited about what potential there is for the future. I'm going to be doing a whole lot more stuff over the interwebs. If you're interested, I'll certainly be talking about it on the show. As long as we're locked down, I'm just chilling at home. So that means I'm probably going to be planning more crazy things and writing more podcast episodes. And here is to an exciting 2022. I hope everyone had a safe holiday. If you did catch the virus over the holiday, I hope you are doing better. I hope your family and everything is well. Everyone's doing good. And I really hope that this shit ends soon. And that's really all that I can say about it. So until next time, keep getting those booster shots. Keep wearing those masks. Keep social distancing. Keep washing those hands. Keep on laughing. And keep on learning.